Hey, what's up, people? Today's question is, middle school teachers, what is the cringiest thing you've seen a student do? Story 1. Director of Technology here. I don't really have much to do with the kids at the school I work at, but I definitely have a cringy moment. I was called down to the middle school from my office to debug a problem for a teacher. The classrooms in this building all have 2 doors. One door opens into the building hallways, the other opens to the outside. My office is across a field from the middle school, so I decide to just cut across the field and enter the side door to the classroom instead of going all the way around the field and entering the classroom from the hallway. Bear in mind that these outside doors are almost never used by anyone except for an occasional fire drill. I open the door and step in to see a room full of students facing away from me and towards their teacher. The student closest to me scrambles to click X on her browser, but not before I see full-on, hardcore, yaoi hentai. Did I mention I work at a Christian private school? She turns bright red, and with visibly trembling hands, she closes her laptop lid. I burst out laughing, which interrupted the class. The teacher looks to me in questioning confusion, and the students stare in silence. I casually walked over to her and said, loudly enough for the classroom to hear, "Let's not look at memes and Facebook jokes at school, guys." Her flush red face, contorted with fear, suddenly relaxed. Her trembling hands stilled. I laughed again and went and debugged the wireless access point issue I was called down for. There is no point in getting her expelled over hormonal changes and curiosity. Story 2. I had a student who would constantly butt into people's conversations, and when they asked him to mind his own business, he'd stand up and proclaim, "Nobody likes me. Everyone thinks I'm so annoying. Ha ha ha," and he'd laugh while everyone awkwardly stared at him. Another kid literally told me one time that he would just act annoying so that he could impress a certain group of boys. They were not impressed. Story 3. I caught the student on a Google search attempting to look me up. He spelled my name wrong, and my name is very common, so I wasn't worried. I sent him home since it was an after-school homework club, and then went through the rest of the history, which included boobs, naked women, Megan Fox nudes, and Megan Fox pants. One of the other students in the class kind of picked up on what was happening and mentioned that he had also been kicked out of the public library for similar reasons. Story 4. I taught 4th grade last year, and I had a student who was 12 years old. Middle school age, held back a few years. She always did very odd things to try to impress her classmates, but they were relatively tame. Until there was a line in the bathroom and she took her pants off, squatted over the trash can, and peed. 4 or 5 girls came running out of the bathroom and told her. Story 5. When I was in 6th grade science class, one of my classmates had to do an oral presentation in which she needed to say the word organism frequently. She said orgasm every single time. The few students who caught on were melting in their chairs with bright red faces, and the teacher was trying so hard to hold back his laughter that tears were streaming down his face. Story 6. I had an 8th grade girl pretend to pass out because she was upset. She got written up for screaming that another girl was a in the middle of a science lesson. Then I got upset when that other girl didn't also get in trouble for looking at her wrong. In the dean's office, she was so upset that she pretended to faint, complete with the back of the palm to the forehead and dramatic exhale, and then lay on the floor until we were forced to call an ambulance. Before the ambulance came, Mom walked in. She worked right across the street and said, "Damn it, Jennifer, we're not doing this again." So evidently, this was a regular thing happening around their house. At this point, the girl squinted her eyes open, but refused to actually get up. When the squad got there, they checked her vitals and basically knew she was fine. They had to take her because we can't take chances with this stuff in schools. We all just kind of looked at each other and shrugged. So, yeah, that was cringy. Story 7. We had this one kid in our 8th grade class stick his entire hand in a cake that was being passed around for a party, grab a chunk, and start eating it like a Neanderthal. It was chocolate, and his face was covered. When he finished his chunk of cake, with everyone looking in disgust, he then proceeded to lick every finger. It was torture watching. He also ended up being the kid who threatened to blow up the school at the end of the year. Story 8. My husband teaches English at a middle school. He brought some creative writing assignments home to grade, and since I'm an assistant teacher for much younger humans, kindergarten, he drafted me into helping him sort through the mess and grade them. We've made good progress through the stack when I pick up a paper that had a kiss mark near the name in lipstick. Okay, that's odd, but I'm used to working with kids who are only just figuring out bathroom habits. A little lipstick on a report is hardly weird in my book, plus middle school. Then I saw the name. Hun, who is R. Husband, without missing a beat, says, R is this goth kid who looks like a rainbow threw up on him after having marathon sex with a unicorn. I look back at the kiss mark. Glitter lipstick is a nice shade choice if the kid is going for gothic pale. I read his creative writing assignment. I get up halfway through to go pour myself more wine. It's extremely well-written gay porn featuring my husband and another teacher at the school. The kid is going places. I don't know what those places are, but he's going places. Story 9. I had a classmate who had to give a presentation using PowerPoint. So there is a computer hooked up to a projector that is pointed at a screen that fills the wall. This guy sticks his USB with his presentation on the computer, and it automatically loads the images he had on it in a gallery. He had a full folder of pictures of girls from his class that he had downloaded from Facebook. That was kind of awkward. Story 10. Not a student in particular, but a whole bunch of them. I was a substitute teacher for a few years on my university breaks, but last January was the worst middle school day I've ever had. 8th grade science class. I asked the kids to open their textbooks and work on the assignment. A girl shyly raises her hand and says, "Miss, there's something inappropriate in my book." Of course, some kids drew a d. I calmly tell her to erase it and move on. 3 more kids say the same thing. I say, "If you have something inappropriate in your book, please just erase it." Every kid starts whining about how there's d in their books. Since they won't shut up about it, I take the offending books and replace them with different books from the back of the room. Every single book, it had a huge d drawn into it. All 90-something of them. Crudely drawn d***s, artistic d***s, Squidward f***, SpongeBob, you name it, it was there. The kids rioted. I almost quit. Story 11. In 6th grade science class, our teacher asked if anyone knew what the arms of an octopus were called, and this kid immediately raised his hand and blurted out, "Testicles!" Everyone was laughing, including the teacher, who also snorted. His face was so red. Story 12. A girl in class using the edge of the seat. She was not discreet either, as many of her peers had a WTF look on their faces. This girl was sweating hard. Seriously uncomfortable office meeting and parent conference. Well, people, so much for today's last story. Remember that you can write me some of your funniest stories in the comments. I'm collecting the best ones to make a video with your best stories.